Hello, everybody. All right, I need to make sure that my mic is coming through the right one this time. I did a podcast the other day and it was coming through the wrong mic, and it's the worst feeling when you get through a podcast and you realize that it was using your webcam's microphone, which has a terrible echo. So, how can I test this? All right, tapping the mic seems to set it off. So, that probably means we're good to go. So I'm just going to wait a little bit here for a couple of people to join. Shut the door so I don't get disturbed. Before we get started though, might as well get the dev environment up and running. All right, zoom in a little bit better for everybody. And let's CD into, I'm going to get into my Getting Started Guide app, which I'm pretty sure I've called something like Quasar-to-do. So let's open that in code. Just as a starting point. Oops, shown up on the wrong screen. There we go. And we can probably just run Quasar dev here. I've already been playing around a little bit, so I might just check the git status here. I don't think I've done anything important. No, this is just all module related stuff. All right, so we've just got this store.js. All right, I remember what I was up to now. Cool, so let's throw that over there. Jump out of full screen here and throw that on the side. This is probably going to be the easiest way to develop in this video. And I'm going to delete this store that I created prior, because this is one of the things we're going to be exploring. Yeah, so for those of you that hello, oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that name. Mehmet, that's what I'm going to go with. Let me know if it's wrong and tell me how to pronunciate it. But yeah, thanks for joining. So we're going to be talking about different ways of managing state. And I honestly don't know the best way to do it. I've come up, I did a podcast yesterday on the Views on Vue podcast, and we were talking about state and, you know, some of the cool things that are happening in the state world at the moment. And so here's some of the things that I'm going to explore in this video, I think, if I manage to get through it all. Definitely Pinia, which, by the way, apparently is very, very close to the Vuex5 RFC. So I wasn't that interested in Pinia to begin with, simply because I thought at work I probably want to use Vuex5 anyway. But now that I know that it has been very closely based on the Vuex5 RFC, I figured, hey, let's go exploring that a little bit. And so the other one is Composition API. And I might even move that up because I'll probably do this first. I'll probably explore... oh man, I haven't got my binding to move stuff up. Oh, that's going to be super annoying. All right, do it manually. All right, so we'll explore handling state with the Composition API. We'll explore doing it with Pinia. And then I'm going to explore doing it using the Composition API, but with inject, provide an inject. So what I actually might actually do Composition API after Pinia, and then we'll look at provide/inject. And then I might also look into Vuex5. I don't know if they've actually built one for Vuex5 yet, so let's quickly just check that out. Vuex5, it's in RFC, but sometimes I said it very sweetly. Oh, that's good to hear. What am I doing? Why am I on medium now? Yeah, sometimes when you've got an RFC, there will actually be a version that you can play around with. So that's what I'm interested in here. Vue.js RFCs. So we might jump in here. Maybe we can go into Vuex. Vue.js Vuex. And let's see if this actually gives us a branch, or we can check it out. So we've got 4 there, but I'm not seeing 5. Maybe you can say 5 here. Oh, RFC. Yeah, okay, so it looks like I might not be able to try out Vuex5. It doesn't look like that's currently, there's any work happening on that. But hey, if anybody's watching this and they know that I'm wrong about that, then please do let me know. By the way, this guy's a bloody legend, Kia King. He created Vuex ORM as well, which is something, which is a plugin for Vuex that I love. All right, so let's start off with Pinia. I might just dive right in. Let's just save this in the root maybe. So I've got it there for reference. We'll just call this like state dash to do or something like that. That'll do. Just want to have it available. And we can go ahead and get started. So let's jump over to the Pinia docs and see what we have to do to get this up and running. All right, cool. So this is using the comp API we use to find store. All right, so ID, do we need an ID there? Is that mandatory or not? And we got the state in there. That's my first question. I don't know why we would need an ID for this. Actually, maybe that's how it's going to show up in the dev tools. Speaking of which, we should look up Pinia dev tools to make sure we've got that up and running. And then use it in a component. So that looks like ridiculously straightforward. So I think we'll be able to get up and running fast with this. And then there's a getting started. Here we go. So let's just add it like this. And we'll come over here. And I might just go, I think in screencast, I like to sort of take up a little bit more space with the terminal. Make it take up the whole screen. Yeah, that'll work well. So now we can say here, yarn, add, and then Pinia next. So that's going to go ahead and get that installed. What next? Okay, so next is for Vue 3. We are using Vue 3 because I'm using Quasar beta or RFC, whatever it is. Not RFC, RC. All right, and then we're going to create a Pinia, the root store, and pass it to app. Now, we're probably going to have to do that in a slightly different way using Quasar, though. Oh, no, we can pull app out. So we'll do it in maybe we'll do that in a boot file. This will probably work well. I'm going to have to close that and start it up again. So how about we say Quasar new boot, and we'll call this just Pinia, I think. I'll probably do. Yeah, let's go ahead and get that installed. All right, so we've got our Pinia boot file, and then we'll go into quasar.conf and make sure that it's actually being used here. And it looks like lowercase is the convention there, so I might just come in here and change that to lowercase. Cool. So we'll jump in there. We're going to pull out app. I don't really need any of this info here, so yank that out. And then we can go ahead and get that going. So I'm just going to copy that and then just sort of jig everything into the right place. So we're importing it here, and instead of Vue use, I think we can say, he had an example saying app use or something like that. If you're using Vue 2, yes. Yeah, okay, so that's only if you're using Vue 2. So it looks like I can just do this. And it's going to work. So I might be able to get rid of that and that. And it looks like that's how we set up Pinia with Vue 2. So we don't need the Pinia plugin then? No, sorry, I copied the wrong example. Silly me. So let's go ahead and do that. And looks like that part's pretty much the same anyway. Cool. All right, so I'm pretty sure that's all we have to do to get that going. Let's try running our dev server again and see if it screams at us. What was this problem before? Something to do with QForm. Okay, so we're getting some weird errors there. Okay, it seems to be working now anyway. All right, so we're up and running. It looks like we are using Pinia. Let's go ahead and see if there's any dev tools that we can use. I think it might actually register itself into DevTools from memory. Let's just check if that worked. Open that up there. Whoop, something is screaming at us. If we go to View, does it just show up for us in the DevTools? How do I do this again? I'm not really good at using the new Vue DevTools yet. No, but somebody did tell me that you do have DevTools for Pinia, so I'm just going to have a look around and see if I can find this. Pinia hooks into Vue DevTools, alright, so it's talking about it here. To give you an enhanced, both Vue 2 and Vue 3. Am I using the new DevTools? Yes, I am using the new DevTools, so I don't know, maybe I just need to close my browser and open it up again. Ah, bugger, YouTube showing on the other screen, so I'll have to start from scratch here. What are we jumping into? Let's open it up like this and have another crack at it and see if it's registered itself. No, okay, I was in notifications. Maybe that was the problem. All right. Don't know how that works. I feel like I'm really going to need it though to sort of fully understand what's going on here. Dev tool support. No, Pinia not showing up. Dev tools. No, we want something with Pinia. Maybe it's just not being used properly yet, or maybe it's because I haven't actually registered anything into the store. So let's just push forward and then we'll check if that's working. All right, so we'll jump out of there and just continue on with the guide. And I think we were here in the getting started one. Yep, there we go. Might give myself more space there, and let's carry on. All right, so we've imported it. If you're using View 2, we're not using View 2. This will also have DevTools support. In View 3, some features like time traveling and editing are still not supported because View DevTools doesn't expose. Okay. You also need to install a plugin inject. Okay, I don't really understand that, but I'm just going to push on. What is a store? That's fine. When should I use a store? That's fine. All right, defining a store. Before diving into a course, we need to know the store. Okay, so you need an ID which is unique across all of your stores. So that kind of answers what we're talking about here. The ID is necessary and is used by Pinia to connect the store to the dev tools. Okay, cool. Well, that's probably why I'm not getting anything yet. Yep, okay, I know about this where you use because that's kind of the idiosyncrasy. What's that word? Yeah, the convention. I'm using the store. We're defining a store because we were... Do I really need to know all that depending on where you... Oh, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I should read this. We're defining a store because the store won't be created until use store is called inside of setup. Okay, so that's going to be important. You can define as many stores as you want, and you should define each store in a different file to get the most out of Pinia. Okay, so we're going to do that. We'll define our stores in different files. Like automatically allow your bundle to code split. Okay, cool. It's not possible to call useStore outside of a setup function. Here is an example of having a... Yeah, okay, so we're not going to be able to do that outside of setup. Instead, make sure to call useStore inside functions that are called after your application is mounted. Okay, so before each is going to be available to us after our app is mounted. So that's going to be handy to know. If we want to access our store in routing, we need to make sure that we're not doing it at the start of the file. It has to be like at a point when our application is mounted. When dealing with server-side, yeah, okay, I don't have to deal with server-side rendering. This won't work because it breaks. Man, this is weird. This guide isn't getting me started. It's kind of just running me through a lot of things that are and aren't going to work. So it's not in the getting started side? All right, then. All right, so let's create a file for this. And maybe we'll create a new folder here for our stores. Let's call this stores. And we'll create a new file in there. And how about we just call this todos.js. Cool. Let's paste that code in and start playing around. Now, use store could be anything like use. Okay, so use. So maybe you call this like use to-dos, I guess. And we'll give this an ID of to-dos. So store ID is using camel case, which is something to remember. All right, so we should keep those comments just in case. That's obvious to me now, so I'll get rid of that one. Use store could be, and that's obvious to me now, so I might actually get rid of that as well. All right, so we've got an ID. Now this is just telling me a whole bunch of things that I shouldn't do. Once the store is instantiated, you can access any property defined in state. getters, and actions directly on the store. Okay, interesting. So they're not going to be nested, which is cool. We will see these in detail in the next pages, but auto-completion will help you store in an object wrapped of reactive, meaning there is no need to write. What's this? We cannot destructure it. There is no need to write a value after getters, but like props in setup, we cannot destructure it. Oh, okay then. We can't destructure it because we're not going to have dot value. That makes sense. I remember learning about that. When you're using reactive, you can't do destructuring. All right, can we actually do some state now? Most of the time, the central part of your store, people often start by defining the state that represents their app. In Pinia, the state is defined as a function that returns the initial state. This allows Pinia to work in both server and Quasar. Okay, cool. So let's come over here, define our state, and we'll return an object. And how about we say entities here, or maybe even data. All right, so we're going to have some data there, which is going to be our to-dos. And I might have an array for now, even though an object is probably a smarter way to do this in the store, but I can think about that later on. Let's just get things working. We'll have a label equal to something like go shopping. And then how about we have an ID here equal to something like 1. And I might move that up there. Cool. And we might have another one here called like study. How about study stores? And we'll give that an ID of 2. All right, so it looks like that's fine. That's how we define our state. Pretty straightforward stuff. Exactly what you'd expect. Actually very similar to just Vuex in general, which is nice. And it's kind of like just having the data property on the options API. So I like that it's very similar in that regard. I'm not using Vue 2, so I'm not going to read that. Accessing the state. By default, you can directly read and write. But I reckon the reason he says by default here is because there's probably a way you can make it read-only so that you have to have your actions, use your actions in order to change the state. All right, so how about we go ahead and try using this? Let's go into our to-dos list, which I'm pretty sure is this one here, and have a play around. First, I want to check if this is showing up. No, maybe after a refresh. Oh, well. We'll look more into that later on. All right, so here's to-dos. We've basically got nothing here yet. So let's say setup. And then we should be able to say store is equal to, oh, we'll call this though to-dos is equal to use to-dos. Use to-dos. And we should be able to import that use to-dos from, and I believe it's sitting in source slash, what did we call it? We called it store or stores slash to-dos. Okay, there it is. Let's just see if that does anything at all. It looks like we're going to have to expose it. To-dos. All right, let's see what happens there. Getting an error. That's all right. We're just starting out here. So let's come back here and check that I'm doing things correct. By default, you can usage with the options API. All right, I must be doing something wrong then. Export use to-dos. Let's see if I'm importing it correctly. By the way, guys, if you notice anything that I'm doing wrong, then let me know. So we're doing define store. That all looks good to me. To-do, for the state, I'm just returning the state. That all looks good to me. And then I've got data within there. And then this is the code he's using to then get data from the store. How about we go into getters then? And maybe like try and expose a getter. How about this? That's our state. So we also want here getters. Nice, we get that auto completion. tremendous. And we'll just say here to-dos. And then how's he doing that? So this is going to be a function, which makes sense. It's like a computed property, which will then return. And okay, so of course that takes in the state as well. So I can easily then just return state dot to-dos. All right, so I think that's correct. And then for my getters, I think I would do something like this, like my to-do. So I should probably name this something different, like to-do store or something. To-dos store. And then let's say const to-dos is equal to to-do store dot to-dos. And now that should be exposed there. So let's see if Quasar's going to blow up at us. What doesn't it like? Expect default was not found. Oh, am I exporting this wrong? Did I not have an export default, which is why that's erroring out on me? All right, seems to be working. Aha! To-do store installed. Let's go over to view and see if it's... Oh, we got Pinia! Woohoo! And this looks exactly like Vuex, which is wonderful. There we go. All right, so we got up and running with Pinia. What have I learned here? So one thing that I messed up there is that I was using named exports and I thought I was using export default. Is there a reason that he's using named exports as opposed to just export default? I don't know. Are there any examples where it is using export default? Nah, these are all sitting in the setup script or within the options API. All right, well, I'm going to follow the convention there. It just means that we need to do it this way. And by the way, I bet you this is not going to work. If I try and say, for example, const, if I try and do something like this, I bet you that will not work because this is going to be wrapped in reactive, which means that you can't pluck things directly out of it. So I think that will not work. All right, I haven't tied this data in anyway, so we should actually test it. And looks like that actually is working. V-4 to do in to-dos, and then the key will be the to-do.id. Let's have a crack at that. Oh, it's actually data though. So if I come back to Pinia here, what am I doing? No, not Pinia. To our to-dos, and I should probably rename that to to-dos store or something like that. I can see a few people are in now. So if you want to say hi, go ahead and say hi. Let me know if I'm doing something that looks stupid. State dot. It's not to-dos, is it? It's state dot data. And there we go. They're showing up now. So now let's set go shopping to the label. To-do dot label. And there we go. Go shopping study notes. Looks like everything is working there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, that's how we do it using Pinia. I'm not sure I'll go much further than that. Oh, we might as well just add an action in there just to see how that all works. But that's pretty much how you manage state with Pinia. Let me just quickly review what I did for my own mind and for all of you watching as well. Basically, we created... Okay, I'm going to get rid of store here. Some given to me by default. And the reason I'm saying stores rather than store is because you kind of think of these as their own store. You don't think of it as one big store. I'm pretty sure, at least, that you don't think of it as one big store when you're using the composition API like this. And so we created this stores directory, and then we created todos.js, which is our store for our to-dos. And then we imported define store from Pinia. So this is what you use to actually define your store, obviously, hence define store. And we need to have an ID. That ID is how it's identified in the background. So in DevTools, the reason that this says to-dos, I'm pretty sure is because of the ID. So if I change that to something else, I think that might actually change in the store. Have I broken something? I have, haven't I? Oh, I'm going to have to restart this because I got rid of the store folder and Quasar thought that is trying to use it because it noticed that it was there, and since I got rid of it, it's thinking, well, I don't see it anymore, and I can't use it for Vuex stuff. So anyway, let's get that going again. Cool. Just going to refresh the page. Okay, store to-dos not found. Let's try another refresh. So why isn't it just using that ID? Well, let's come back to to-dos list. To-dos. So we got, how about we call this to-do store. Let's go back to what we had before and say const to-dos is equal to to-do store dot data. Save that. Okay, I don't know what this error message is about though. Is that actually going to affect it? It still seems to be working fine. Yeah, okay, maybe it's like done some weird caching there and said, well, we had to-dos before, but now we don't. I don't know. But it seems to be working. And so, anyway, the point I was making there is that your ID is how it's going to be identified in the back end and in DevTools. So let's change that back to to-dos. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we had created a getter here, which is exactly as you would expect it to be written. This is like super, super simple stuff here. State is just like how we would do, use the data property when we were using the options API. In fact, you can almost think this is like data on the options API. This is just like computed properties on the options API. And actions are just like methods on the options API. So let's say actions here. And how about we say something like get to-dos. And have I got Axios set up? Yeah, I do, but I need to set it up with the to-dos API. So let's say to-do -API, I think that's what it is, .quasarcast.com. So I'll go ahead and save that. Yeah, see, now it's saying that this doesn't exist, so looks like there's some caching going on there. And I bet you if I got out of this and back into it, maybe it would get rid of that error. Yeah, looks like that did. Cool, so it's just like a little bit of extra help for us. So let's forget to-dos, or maybe we'll call this instead fetch to-dos. Or maybe even just fetch, because it already knows that it's to-dos because of the name of the file itself. And then we can say something like API, and we'll import that from our boot. So it looks like that worked for us. API dot, I don't know, get, and I think it's like slash to-dos or something like that. So let's just see what happens there and see if we can call fetch there when we're in the setup method. So let's say to-dos store dot fetch. Are we going to get some typing there? Oh, look at that. Wonderful. Get that auto completion, which is just beautiful to see. And did that work? Okay, so it's gone ahead and tried to make the request, so that method did actually get called. And I've done something wrong here. It's probably got to do with I probably have to do something like this. Let's say Axios dot defaults dot with credentials and set that equal to true. That's just something you need to do in order to use the API that I've got set up. Helps with like some cookie related stuff, and there we go. Now I can fetch to-dos from my API. Cool. All right, so that's how you would do all this stuff with Pinia. Is there anything else I really need to dig into? Actions is kind of obvious. I'm pretty sure I did that correctly. Yeah. One more thing I need to check with actions though is actually then inserting some stuff into the store. So how about we go ahead and actually delete everything here, and we set data to an empty array. And we'll say .get, and then we'll just say .then, take in the response, and then we can say, so we probably get the state here, is that correct? No, I just use this. Cool. All right, so then I can just say this dot, what's patch? I remember seeing that before. Oh, so we got a couple of things that we can mess around with here. We got some nice auto completion going on. Anyway, so we'll say this dot let's have a look at that patch. What does it give us? Partial state deep patches to apply to the state. Right. Looks like that's another way to change our data. Let's look that up actually. I'm allowed to go on tangents. It's the point of this video for me to just sort of mess about. So it looks like I can say that, oh, you see, literally just passing through the data that you want to patch. So in other words, I can say data is going to equal to response.data. I think that will work. Let's refresh this and see what actually happens there. Right. So it looks like that didn't work. But how about we try something like this? How about this dot data is equal to response.data. Oh, and it's not response.data, it's response.data.data. I have to go one level deeper. So we'll try that first, and then we'll have a crack at using patch there. Did that work? It looked like it worked the first time, and then it looked like it didn't. All right, how about we do a log here? Response.data.data. Have a crack at that. Oh, it looks like it kind of did work that time. All right, it's a bit funky. So there's our data.data, which is an array of our objects. So that's doing the right thing. So that means that my other awesome to-do should be showing up there, but it's not. So saying this.data isn't working. How about we console.log this.data? Just to see what I get there. Because I thought I could directly change the state. This.data. Alright, so that's not working. Let's try using patch. Alright, there we go. So it looks like you can't just say this and then the thing you want to change. I thought he did that in the example though. Let's scroll back to the top here. We're looking for actions. Here we go, actions. Increment, and then we're saying this dot the thing. In this case, it's that. If I just define my state differently, this is a function. All right, so rather than returning it like that, it looks like he's just wrapped it in parentheses like this. I don't know what that's all about, to be honest. Something like that? Is that what he's done? No, it's more like this. Oh gosh, this is making my head do some backflips. Yeah, okay. I see. So we're basically just straight away returning an object. So let's take a look at that and see what that does for us. Console.log this.data gives me a proxy. Okay, so the length is 0. Let's just put something in there though, just to check if that is working. Right. So this dot data, let's say this dot data dot value. See what that gives us. Nothing. Okay, I can't use dot value because you're using reactive. I'm still learning this stuff. But what I really want to know is, can I say this.data is equal to response.data.data? That should be .data as well. So can I do it that way without using patch, like he does in the example? It's showing up, but I'm not getting the label. Let's do a console.log just to check that the data we've got is correct. And then it kind of works. So I'm getting some really weird results here. So it looks like there's some something weird happening with reactivity. Hang on, let's get rid of that initial value. And so I'd say it's because it's somewhat nested. Maybe. I don't know. Let's try it this way. All right, so it looks like in this case, I need to use .patch. No, but now it's not working again. What am I doing? Setting it to that array, and it looks like I can't just replace an array. All right, so let's dig a bit deeper here. Actions get access to the whole store instance through this. Okay. Accessing other stores' actions. Not really interested in that, at least not right now. Not interested in the options API. Not interested in watching actions either. Yeah, okay, so it looks like there's something fundamental I'm not understanding about reactivity here, which is giving me this problem. So it looks like I've done that the same way that he has there. What else can I do? Maybe I can try making that a ref. I'm just going to have a little play here just to get my fingers moving. Refresh that. This $$ patch is getting called. All right, let's change that from ref to reactive. Give it another refresh. Same problem. Are we still hitting that endpoint though? Let's try that. Yep, so we are hitting the endpoint. We are getting the data. So let's set this back to an empty array. Am I referring to the right thing here? Response.data.data. I'm pretty sure I already checked that, but let's just check it again anyway. Maybe it's because the word data is already taken. Okay, now I'm getting an error. Oh, maybe it's because of, yeah, I need to stop importing that now. But then the weird thing is, like, you save it and it kind of like works again. If I like comment that out and save it, then it kind of works. So it feels like it's like some sort of a weird reactivity issue. So that means that the data that we're trying to pass through must be correct. Why can't I just update an array like this? Let's try changing that from data to, I don't know, something else. How about to-dos? And then we'll come down here and say to-dos is equal to that. Try refreshing the page. No, okay, that's not working. But my guess is that this is not placing it where I think it's placing the data. So let's come back to the example here. We have an object with counter there. Let's find this $patch thing. Apart from directly changing the store, you can also call the patch method. It allows you to apply multiple changes at the same time with a partial state object. Replacing the state. You can replace the whole state of a store by setting it. Yeah, okay, it's not really what we're looking for either. But that should be right. It's basically saying, okay, I want you to map onto to-do. So I want you to map over that with this new array. So how about we just change it now to this dot to-dos is equal to that. So we'll try it without the patch method because that should work, I'm pretty sure. Once again, we'll do a refresh. And I get nothing, but I bet you if I like comment that in or something, it'll work again. No, okay, this time it's just blatantly not working at all. But then if I bring that in, let's see if that will then work. Man, this is like seemingly random. I'm not going to give up until I figure this out. Okay, so let's try this. Let's come back to our to-do list. We're going to start by just checking what shows up in the store. And see how that works. So we've got to-dos in the store, and there it is there. It's just an array. Oh, we've also got a to-dos getter. That's probably going to clash with things, I imagine. Yeah, so maybe we'll change this to like get to-dos, and then we'll have to come back here and say to-dos. Oh, we're not even using it anyway. But let's just say to-dos is equal to get to-dos. That could have something to do with it. The fact that I wasn't actually using a getter there. I don't know. All right, so we'll come back here. And there we go. We've got an empty array in the store. Let's do a fetch. What are those errors about? I don't know. Okay, we're able to fetch the data because it's showing up here. Let's come back to the store. And in our to-dos, we have got one item there. So that has actually updated in the store, but it looks like it's not being reactive. So to-dos store dot get to-dos, does that need to be called as a method? I don't think it does. No, now it's just blatantly freaking out on us. Sorry about this, guys. This must be getting super boring. But this is the nature of it. All right, so get to-dos takes in the state, then we can say state dot to-dos, which should then give us that back. So I'm not seeing anything wrong with that. The patch is successfully replacing that. I tried using ref here. And that didn't seem to work. Let's just try that again, because now I've messed around with things. Anyway, I might have to just call this a little bit of a failure and then just go back and do a bit of work on my own and come back to you guys with the answer, because this is not fun to watch. Me floundering around. Yeah, I tried that with ref and I tried that with reactive. I can't remember the difference between the two exactly. But yeah, I don't know. What else can I try here? So we're calling to-dos is equal to do store dot get to-dos. That's being exposed here. We're then iterating over all of them and using the ID and the label. They're definitely being fetched there. Oh man. Really am just running out of ideas. I really thought this would be easier. Like you just have an action that, I don't know, maybe they talk about arrays here or something here. Writable state for lecture. Ah, hang on. If you want to be able to write to these state properties, example, if you have a form, you can use map writable state instead. Hmm. No, I'm not, this is different. This is talking about, okay, so that's the options API, modifying the state. Replacing the state, watching the state. Oh man, this is a little bit embarrassing to be honest. The whole collection. Hmm. It's just taking the wind out of my sails. I'm usually really chirpy in these live streams, but now I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Just gotta keep at it. It's definitely getting imported. Find store. I'm definitely using the composition API. Oh, how about this? Pinia array not updating or not reactive maybe. Hmm. Array not reactive. I bet you I'm doing something fundamentally wrong here. Like, fundamentally wrong. Has it got something to do with the context of this? Let's see what happens if it talks about asynchronous stuff. No, not seeing it there. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna stop this live stream, guys. Sorry, but thank you for like sticking with me. Whilst I tried to figure this out. But I mean, this is the good thing. Then I can do a video and be like, hey guys, this is how you handle arrays. I had lots of trouble with this. Um, Maybe if I do this. You can tell I'm just kind of like clutching now. Just trying anything. Nope. Let's just set that to plain object, though I highly doubt that would work. If anybody knows, if anybody's watching this and they have experience with this and they understand um, why this is not working for me, please do let me know. The other thing I could do is, I guess, something like this. Function, and then let's actually straight out return an object. Maybe it was that syntax, like, not working for whatever reason. Let's do just an array like that. Let's bring this console.log back in just to check. How about we try both those ways as well? Yeah, man, still nothing showing up. We might also return here the response. And now I can come back here to to-dos list. Just check that's... I don't even know what I'm looking for anymore, to be honest. Just going to keep playing around. It's just console.log that response data. Did that crack? Then of undefined. Okay, I'm not returning this. Maybe that's got something to do with it, but that seems unlikely as well. Yeah, okay, well at least that's working now. But Not helping. Maybe when you're changing data, it needs to be another action. So perhaps I should have just been more thorough reading the docs. So maybe we can say like replace to-dos, and that will take in some to-dos. And then we could say this dot to-dos is equal to those to-dos. And then up here, we can do something like this. This dot replace to-dos response dot data. That seems really unlikely to help, but let's just see what happens. See if that's actually getting called. By the way, that's dot data dot data. Give that a try. All right, well, at least that's getting called, but once again, like persisting state with an array just seems to not be working for me. I mean, I don't want to do it this way, but what happens if we say this dot to-dos dot push? I think that's the way I have to do it. Still not working. The weird thing is, it still shows up there. Oh no, this time it isn't showing up in the state. Did I do that push wrong? No, I didn't do it wrong. I'm pretty sure that's how it's done. Alright, let's give it another try. Oh, weird, we're getting to-dos. Oh yeah, to-dos the object, and then the actual to-dos itself, because I changed that from data. I'm going to change this back to data, because I don't think that's the problem anyway. State.data. Let's do a console.log when this state is called. This might give us a little bit of insight to what's happening. This dot data is equal to the to-dos. Let's have a crack at that. Yep. Gets put in there, but simply does not show at all. Maybe for some reason I'm using view, the wrong version of view here. So I can test that anyway by saying Quasar info. That seems pretty unlikely though. View, we're using view 3 here. It's not that. We're using the right version of Pinia. Package.json version 2 beta. And it's telling us to use the next branch, so I think that's correct. Oh man. For those of you that are still watching this, I'm guessing you're watching because you really just want to see me push through and figure this out. So I'll stick at it a little bit longer. But yeah, feel free to give any advice if you're seeing any sort of holes in my thinking here. So I'm pretty sure it's definitely being registered okay. Maybe we can do this whole thing with the options API. No, that wouldn't make sense. We're not using it at all anyway. I'm saying app.use, create Pinia. Let's get rid of the async nature here. Maybe there's some weird like ordering going on there. I think that's all I have to do to fix that. No. Once again, it's still showing up there, to-dos, and then data. Let's come back into a to-dos list here. And we had something on that getter, didn't we? To check if the getter was actually being picked up. So where's that? That was in to-dos. We have getters here. Let's just check that I'm doing the getters correct. Getters. Yeah, I spelled that correctly. And it is just a function that takes the state using slightly different syntax, using this arrow syntax. So, heck, I might just try and do that as well. And there we go. Them fat arrow syntax. Nah, same result. All right, guys, complete and utter failure. I'm gonna end this stream, but thanks for watching. I'm gonna keep at it, figure out the solution, and then help other people by showing them what I came up with. So thanks for those of you that did stick around and watch. And yeah, I'll do another live stream when I figure this out. And hey, maybe I'll figure the other stuff out and then just do like a faster live stream showing what I come up with. So yeah, thanks for watching.